Hello everyone and welcome to your favorite news show, Erongo Talk. My name is Leandra Hello and today we join you from Platz Am Meer Mall here in Swakopmund. Now for those of you who don't know, Platz Am Meer Mall is now also officially the new home of Erongo 24/7 and Erongo Talk. But we will divulge a bit later on that as well. Now since it's Wednesday, we usually focus on economics and business. So for the news, it's going to be economics and business. We bring you the weather and tides as well. Now, the presidential economic advisor, that is James Mnyupe, shares some valuable insights on how Namibians, ordinary Namibians, can boost the economy. Now, he made these remarks at the recently concluded Walvis Bay Fishing School gala dinner and launch. Now, you don't want to miss that insights that he shares. Please stay tuned. We will be right back after this. And now it's time for your news. Now, like we said, it's Wednesday, so we focus on economics and business. Now, Johannes Geingob, the governor of the Bank of Namibia, became the third Namibian central bank chief to have his signature on a Namibian banknote. Now, the first Namibian central bank governor was Tom Alwindo, who is now the Minister of Mines and Energy, followed by Mpumbu Shimi, who is serving as the Minister of Finance. Now, the modified 10 Namibian dollar banknote launched on Friday will run concurrently with all existing banknotes accepted as legal tender in the payment of goods and services. Speaking at the launch, Geingob notes that money is the lubricant that enables a society to organize itself to achieve economic progress. Evidence suggests that merchants and consumers, particularly those with low income, would be significantly worse off without cash. This may also be the case for other segments of the population, such as older people or those with a low appetite for financial intricacies who prefer cash over other means of payments, the governor said. But you can head on over to our website, that's www.erongo.com.na, to read more on this. Now, secondly, the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, MIT, launched the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Policy that was approved by Cabinet and Parliament in 2016. The major objectives of the policy are to foster the development of MSMEs by adopting international good practices for modernization and upgrading of technology. Now, the minister also launched the 10 growth strategies after a public-private dialogue process with relevant stakeholders, approved the strategies to enhance value addition, expand industrialization output, and increasing growth rates. Growth strategies comprise cosmetics, game meat products, gemstone and jewelry products, handicrafts, leather and leather products, metal fabrication, seafood, swankara and wool products, taxidermy products, and wood charcoal. Now, the new policy on MSME is a framework to create an enabling regulatory environment in which the public and private sectors can develop and promote small enterprises. But like I said, please head on over to our website, that's www.erongo.com.na, to read more on this new policy. Now, during the third quarter of 2021, the Namibia Financial Institutions Supervisory Authority, that is NAMFISA, which is the regulator of non-banking financial institutions, ordered over 1.8 million Namibian dollars back to customers' pockets. Now, during the period under view, the regulator received a total of 213 complaints from consumers of financial services, and this signifies an increase of 34% in comparison to the previous quarter, while this is a reduction of 18.4% on an annual basis. Now, according to NAMFISA's spokesperson, that is Victoria Muranda, Of all the complaints received, 98.6% mainly originated from micro-lending and credit agreements, long-term insurance, short-term insurance, and the retirement funds sectors. Now, about 77% of the total complaints received were resolved amicably. The resolution of complaints resulted in consumers receiving well over 1.8 million Namibian dollars from non-banking financial institutions. But like I said previously, please head on over to our website. That's www.erongo.com.na. Also send us your news tips. That is at newstips@erongo.com.na. Please stay tuned. We will be right back after this.
Here's the truth, colleagues, and hopefully most of you have realized this already, but if you haven't, let's make that realization together tonight. Like, when folks say you have to do more with less, it has never been more relevant and truer today. Melvin used to collect more than 200 million bucks in roaming revenue when all of you didn't need to vaccinate, right? When COVID wasn't there, he was making 200 million bucks on roaming revenue. Okay, I can say that he's a listed company. We can look at their financials. Now, with COVID and you guys not vaccinating, he's making like 12 million. Okay? Government used to own 100% of MTC. So how do we invest more in fishing when our revenue has fallen off a cliff, right? And I'm just using MTC because it's here, but our revenues, we make 50 billion bucks a year. That used to be more, our deficit, 3-4 billion a year. We're talking 8, 9, 10 billion a year now in deficit, right? So it's extremely hard to find money for anything. The ambassadors overseas are complaining like they don't have people. Defense wants more money. Education wants more money. The unions want, pay rises. I work for government now. I haven't had a salary increase for like 2-3 years in a row. My wife and I, we're still wearing suits that we used to wear in the private sector. So it's tough all around. So what's the actual response? The actual response is you need to talk to the fishing school guys, Quinton guys, because what they're saying is, instead of running your 2 Cessnas and your vessels, the good old traditional model, and you need 20-30 million or whatever it is you need to do to run those assets, go ahead and buy a drone or a portfolio of drones, stick EMIs in them, you run a whole sort of solution that actually does a better job of surveying that area, but maybe at 20% of the cost. And you save on like $1 billion of illegal fishing. That sort of innovative approach is what we now all need to be thinking about. And the beauty of that is public-private sector collaboration, which is what we're seeing in government. It has to be a private sector-driven economic recovery, because we're not as smart in government alone as if I sort of hang out with you and, like Melvin said, share some ideas and innovate our way out of the sort of really fiscally challenging times that we find ourselves in. So let's take some few practical examples. You guys want to, not you guys, but government needs to build a desalination plant. Okay, so that should provide drinking water for the uranium sector. Okay, so we can either do that ourselves, try and raise $3 billion, or you can enter in what we call a public-private partnership in accordance with the PPP Act, where you say, look, to provide this public sector asset, you as private sector can design, build, operate this asset and transfer it after 25 years. I'll give you the land and the rights to run this asset. Now, that partnership transfers some of the funding obligations to you as a private sector, but also gives you the opportunity to monetize that asset. Whereas before, as the Minister of Agriculture Water, I would go to the Minister of Finance and say, give me $4 billion up front, I'll build this and we'll start pumping out water. So that's one potential innovative approach. If you apply that to the fishing sector, again, working with the solutions that we heard today, instead of you running your own fleet as government, you could actually put out a PPP, right? Where you say to the private sector, I need innovative solutions designed and pitched by you guys to operate a fleet of solutions that monitors illegal fishing. So you take away the fiscal responsibility or risk from you, and you give the private sector an opportunity to help you out. So that's one example. I mean, if you looked at what we did with the synthetic fuels thing, we raised $1 million Namibian from selling an idea to the private sector. And we said, if you can give us a pitch that makes sense to build a synthetic fuels industry in Namibia, you could get a 40-year concession to run this asset in the desert, which is a protected area, and you'll do it environmentally responsible. We got paid $1 million for that, and today we're being offered to get paid 50, not 100 million for offering that suggestion to the private sector. Now, we could never build our own synthetic fuels industry because it requires $9.4 billion US, which is 3 times our annual revenue as government. Okay, so again, we could either sort of say, we need to raise taxes, or, you know, we need, I don't know what, we can sell government cars or sell Transnamib's assets, or you could say, wow, I see that this synthetic fuels thing is a thing in the world. Hey, can you come and build this in our country and we can share and split the revenue and the windfall? So that sort of innovative approach to enter into industries that we don't even yet fully have, but passing on the risk to the private sector to problem solve for it is like an interesting way of raising revenue away from just taxing people. And of course, there are other things we can do. Policy, I'm sure the normal economists are watching me and they're like, why aren't you talking about NIAB and NIPA? All of those things as well, we are pushing and working hard on. You do need very competitive investment promotion tools to attract money even into the smaller SME spaces as well. And we are having very robust engagements in government about that, right? Minister of Finance, Industrialization and Trade, NMH, President's Office, all of us are talking about what is the sort of optimal configuration of policies that provide investment opportunities for locals, but also attract foreign skills and foreign investment as well. Because you need the complete package to really get Namibia going again. Government doesn't have revenue, and it's not because we don't want to not have revenue. You know, ICT companies can track movement. You know, Google, actually, you can go on Google and look at how mobility has dropped, right? And when people aren't moving around, they're not spending on petrol money, and as mobility drops, your economic activity drops, and government just collects a portion of economic activity. So because that economic activity has dropped, our airline has closed down, right? Like, traffic through the airport is just gone. I serve on the board of a tourism company. That revenue has been obliterated, and that tourism company was one of the largest buyers of beer, just as an example. So those guys have been hit, and so you go on and on and on. All of that contraction has resulted in a drop in revenue, but all of your expenses haven't changed materially. So yes, government definitely doesn't have money. Most people in Namibia may not have spare money, but in the world, US is experiencing the highest level of inflation since 1982. 7%, right? So they pumped in a lot of cheap money into that economy and around the world. And so the idea now for Namibia is, how can we attract that cheap capital from around the world into Namibia to bolster our economy? I think that's a big, big part of the solution. And the bad news, Namibians, is we have to share more. Our immigration policies, I know a lot of you guys don't like foreigners. We just are gonna have to share our space and our opportunities a little more, and we're gonna be willing to do that in order to grow the cake. That's very unofficial advice, but it's really the truth. That's just the way I've experienced it. being innovative in our approaches, let me give you a practical example. As we were doing this synthetic fuels thing, we started collaborating with the Ministry of Education and Research in Germany. And they gave us 40 million euro grant, so like 700 million bucks, and 5 million of that, so about 75 million, we specifically asked to set that aside to start taking Namibians to institutions locally, regionally, or abroad to gain skills so that as we're beginning to incubate the synthetic fuels industry, when it kickstarts, we can absorb those students. So it's money we didn't have, right? So we went and engaged in hydrogen diplomacy, we raised money, but after we did raise the money, we said a portion of that we want to set aside for skilling up our kids. On top of that, we then went and said, but we also want to link that into an internship program. Melvin's going to pay some folks to hire these kids. We are going to say, if you want to build a green hydrogen asset in Namibia, you have to start employing some of these kids that have gone through this scholarship program. So, you know, that's just being innovative and bringing capital that you didn't even have, and then actually almost creating jobs today, sort of 4 years down the line using capital that we didn't have. So those sort of innovative approaches, and then I think, you know, F&B, for example, are doing a great job as well with their internship program. And then NASIA, or Namibian Savings and Investment Association, we're going to encourage them to try and put together a NASIA Academy, similar to what we've done with ASISA in South Africa. So those sort of public-private sector collaborations, again, to start creating skills that are not typical fancy degrees, but are more employable as well, is something, again, we're going to have to problem solve for together. We can't problem solve for that alone as government. I'm going to have to work with you.
Are you being the beacon for your team? My name is Rowan van Dijk. I'm a leadership trainer, a speaker, author, and I want to explain to you today what it means to be the beacon. How do you shine the light to your team? What does it mean to shine the light to your team? Your team needs your guidance. If you look at a light, if you look at a lighthouse, what is the purpose of a lighthouse? It's planted on a rock, on the shore, in a dangerous area where boats can get into trouble or run aground. And the light indicates that here's land. So it gives the captain of the ship an opportunity and a choice to re-navigate his route so that he doesn't get into trouble. Now, in the same way, you as the leader need to be the light. You need to be the beacon, the lighthouse to your team. And how do you do that? Very simple. In a previous video, I spoke to you about setting the example. By being prepared to do what you ask your team to do, to show them you can do it and that you're willing to do it. Being the light means that if I'm expecting my team to do things, and I run into stormy seas, I start getting into trouble, or the economy takes a dip, or as we're experiencing in South Africa currently, we have load shedding. So because of problems with electricity, they switch our electricity off for 4 or 5 hours at a time. So suddenly the electricity is off and you're in a manufacturing environment and the machines are standing still and you're going to miss your deadline, and the boss has a problem and the boss is not recognizing the achievements of the team. All those hassles that you have. That's when you, as the leader, need to stand strong. You then need to be the beacon. You need to attract the people to your light to say, guys, here I am. I will show the way. I will fight. I will carry us through. Yeah, I think of years ago, the Civil War, the Anglo-Boer War, all these wars where you had, especially in the medieval times with the kings. The king was the leader. They were in charge, the colonel, the general. But did you ever see them lead the charge? No, they didn't. They sent the other people into battle. Why? They were strategizing, and if things went wrong, they had to re-strategize. But they were sacrificing their people. You as the leader need to say, send a message to your team and tell them that I'm here for you. I have your back. I'm fighting for you. Follow me. I'll lead us through the storm. I'll lead us through the desert. I'll lead us through this economic crunch. Whatever problems we're having, the restructuring, the retrenching at work. And especially now in the time of AI, we have artificial intelligence, which is overflowing us and flooding us like a tsunami, when in fact it's actually been around for years and years, decades. But now suddenly people are beginning to say, oh, the robot's going to take my job, and there's a chatbot that's taking over. Yes, it's true, it's happening. But if you do your proper research, you'll find that for every job that a robot's taking over, there are actually 3, 4 other jobs being created. So you as the leader need to guide these people. Tell your team, yes, I know you could possibly lose your job to a robot or to a humanoid or to a chatbot or to whatever, but we're going to put you on this training program, and then we are going to redeploy you in a new job so that you still have work, but it's just a different job, because that is the result of AI. But this takes you being the beacon, you caring about your team enough to show them the way, to lead them in the right direction, because then they will trust you and then they will follow you. If you follow my series on leader rings, on creating leader rings, you will see how you go about creating this. So remember, you need to shine your light, not a faded light, but a bright light, so that your people can see you and they can follow you. And you need to show them by leading by example.
Wednesday's weather report. For Walvis Bay, the sun will set 7:45 and will rise 13 minutes to 7 on Thursday. Walvis Bay will experience a maximum of 24 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 24 degrees Celsius predicted for Thursday. A west-southwesterly wind will prevail with a speed of 9 kilometers per hour. For Swakopmund, the sun will set 7:45 and will rise 12 minutes to 7 on Thursday. Swakopmund will experience a maximum of 23 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 23 degrees Celsius predicted for Thursday. A west-southwesterly wind will prevail with a speed of 9 kilometers per hour. For Henties Bay, the sun will set 7:45 and will rise 11 minutes to 7 on Thursday. Henties Bay will experience a maximum of 24 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 23 degrees Celsius predicted for Thursday. A southwest wind will prevail with a speed of 9 kilometers per hour. For Arandis, the sun will set 17 minutes to 8 and will rise 14 minutes to 7 on Thursday. Arandis will experience a maximum of 29 degrees with a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 31 degrees predicted for Thursday. A south-southwesterly wind will prevail with a speed of 13 kilometers per hour. For Usakos, the sun will set 20 minutes to 8 and will rise 16 minutes to 7 on Thursday. Usakos will experience a maximum of 34 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 34 degrees Celsius predicted for Thursday. A southeast wind will prevail with a speed of 9 kilometers per hour. For Karibub, the sun will set 21 minutes to 8 and will rise 17 minutes to 7 on Thursday. Karibub will experience a maximum of 32 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 34 degrees Celsius predicted for Thursday. An east wind will prevail with a speed of 7 kilometers per hour. And last but not least, for Omaruru, the sun will set 12 minutes to 8 and will rise 16 minutes to 7 on Thursday. Omaruru will experience a maximum of 33 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 35 degrees Celsius predicted for Thursday. An east-southeasterly wind will prevail with a speed of 11 kilometers per hour. And that was it for your weather report.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Erongo Talk, but you can always head on over to our website. That's www.erongo.com.na. That's www.erongo.com.na. You can also follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, or you can get in contact with us at 0811 7040. That is 0811 7040 on both WhatsApp and on Telegram. Now, that is also your go-to number if you want to advertise with us. 0811 7040, or if you'd like to let us know what is happening in your town, send us your news tips as well. That is to newstips@erongo.com.na. That's newstips@erongo.com.na. Now, we also have an online TV channel. You can check it out at oneup2.com. But we are very proud here at Namibia Media Holdings because yesterday we made some history. You can also find us on network television, that is on DSTV, as well as on GoTV. How awesome is that? So if you miss Erongo Talk on any of the online social media platforms, you can check us out every day at 2 o'clock on DSTV or GoTV. So we are very proud of that fact, but it's the halfway mark of the week. It's very important that you stay safe and that you be responsible. So we will see you again tomorrow with some community news. But until then, it's goodbye.